Here we are, doing this thing that we have done 99 times up till now, which
So that
means
makes this one.
no, not just one. You can finish the word. Keep going. Were we pausing for dramatic effect?
I was allowing you to make the announcement is what I was doing. No? Okay. Well, you could. This is the 100th now that we are
There we
finally.
go.
Huge.
Much like this episode, we finally got that out. Because if we went by how many times we've tried to record this episode and get it out, we'd be on episode 111 by now.
No, maybe not 11, but certainly 3.
It's been a struggle,
But
but we're here.
We made it.
We're doing this thing we do again and again and again and again. So we've made it to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose we'll try and get to 200.
Well, there's no reason.
I mean, we got nothing else to do.
Some of us have other things to do as well, But
yeah, but that's as well as you just stated.
Yes, exactly.
Not better than or in.
I still think I gotta
in place in what?
Kind of above it though, like kind of have to.
No,
I know that might hurt.
This is the most important for our listeners.
Wait, don't we?
I don't think our listeners. No offense. I don't think all of our listeners give 2 craps about your PhD or.
They don't have to. But we have listeners. I thought we only had one.
Oh, I think we've grown. Well, we have to have grown because I said it and now I can't go back on it. I'd ruin the whole joke. Anyway. Yeah, so here we are. After all that witty banter we just had, we're here celebrating the 100th episode of this silly little podcast that we started many, many moons ago.
Yep, 3 years ago.
And
yep, something like that. 3 years.
Yeah, we're in our 4th season, so 3 years ago, right before the pandemic hit. Like a month before the pandemic hit.
Literally, yeah.
So, we don't have anything planned. We're just going to look back and talk about the shit that we've done over the last 100 episodes. Some of the things we've come across, the people we've met, some of our favorite maybe things that we've discovered because of the podcast. Because the one thing the podcast has done for me is made me maybe dig a little deeper into certain things, maybe watch some things, listen to some things, do some things, meet some people that I otherwise probably wouldn't have in my regular day-to-day life.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, like when it comes to pop culture consumption, most people stay in their lane, right? And they, as a result, now with algorithms and all of that, you might get introduced to some other things that are a little bit tangential to perhaps what you are watching, but usually in the same vein of stuff. Certainly with the podcast, I have ended up listening to things that are outside of my normal realm for sure, and I really appreciate the encouragement to try new things, listen to new music, which I always like to do anyway, but different genres that I may not have otherwise been spending much time with, and and getting a chance to meet all sorts of new people. That's been
the meeting of the new people has probably been the biggest fun, the funnest, the most exciting part of doing this whole thing. I mean, the mostest, because it could have just been you and me just chattering back and forth for the last 100 episodes, which is fine too. I mean, we seem to enjoy each other's company for the most part. We seem to get along for the most part. Seem to agree on most things for the most part, but it's also nice to bring other people into the fray and chat them up. So we've had a bunch of people from different walks of life come on and talk about themselves to us and to introduce themselves to us. And we've had a good time meeting all these people, like Jennifer Mulligans. She was on, I think, in season 1.
Yeah, she was one of the first, I think.
Yeah, she was one of the originals, I believe.
one of the first guests that we had on the podcast, and we wanted to talk to somebody who was in the film industry in Ottawa. And lo and behold, we got in contact with her, and she is fantastic. Yeah, she does amazing work, and she's really involved in the writing community in Ottawa as well. So she's been a great source of information and sort of pointing us in interesting directions and all sorts of stuff. I really appreciate her contributions over time, and
Yeah.
really enjoyed meeting her in the first place.
Yeah, and, we met producer extraordinaire Christopher Giroux.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah,
I
getting to
think
learn about a lot of the production of like some of these Hallmark films and all of that, like, and how big of an industry we have in Ontario for this kind of thing. Did not know that. That was new.
yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. I also like the fact that his 2 avenues are horror and Hallmark.
Yeah, not the same.
But that introduced us to, anything what was that movie called? Anything for Jackson,
Yes, yes, yes,
which we both thoroughly enjoyed.
definitely. Yeah.
So that was and that's kind of, I believe, what started, maybe me down the road of digging a little deeper for the smaller, more independent films, and
Hmm.
then taking a look at some of the film festivals, Spirit Awards, stuff like that, which,
Fantasia.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because and yeah, of course, Fantasia, because that's a I think that's where Christopher mentioned that Anything for Jackson would be premiering the
Hmm.
year that we were talking about him, which then led us to the Fantasia Festival, which we've found numerous great films coming out of that. And that's not something that I, before the podcast, would have really dug into. I was, like you said, you stay in your lane. So I was more like, go to the theater, watch the blockbusters, like big names, big movies, big budgets, blah, blah, blah. And then becoming more acquainted with these smaller film festivals and everything else, it kind of expanded my brain into realizing that smaller independent films and shows and then moving on to stuff like games and stuff like that. Like I used to play the AAA games, but after starting to do this and starting to dig a little deeper into the gaming industry and stuff like that, finding all of these small indie games and stuff like that, which tell like really amazing stories on the smaller budget, but are just as just as much fun, if not more fun, to play than like the big AAA titles.
Hmm.
So again, I like the fact that this has led me down numerous different
New paths.
avenues than my movie snobness and my music snobness and my whatever used to keep me from going down.
Yeah, yeah.
That was good. Also, I believe the pandemic had something to do with that as well, because not being able to go to the theaters and not having the big budget stuff being made, it
Hmm.
opened the door for the smaller stuff to gain some traction and to be put out kind of with a little bit like on the radar a little bit instead of under it.
Hmm.
So that always helps. So maybe it's a good time to start a podcast. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it was probably a good time to start a podcast because everybody started to find their influencer vibe and their creative vibe during the pandemic. Because if you look at the numbers, there's so many things that came out at that time, like people blowing up on Twitch and TikToks and all those like just grew
Mm,
in popularity because you're
of
stuck in your
course.
house doing nothing. Why not film yourself doing
Yeah, well,
some
I mean, one of our favorite entertainers, performers, singers, songwriters, Danielle Allard, she basically had to like entirely move her method of reaching an audience to Twitch, and then she completely excelled at this,
yeah,
and,
just
and managed
exploded.
to develop like a whole community and a way of doing her presentation and all of this kind of stuff. And she's super engaging to watch in this way. I mean, no, I'm certain she's also great live. You've had that experience. I haven't had the
I
fortune
have.
as of
And
yet.
that was her album release party, and the best thing about that is I showed up there and she was like a bunch of people there talking to some of them and found out that they had like come up from like places like New York and like driven hours upon hours
Wow.
to come and see her album release party. That was her Invader album release party, I believe,
Hmm.
to give a little shout out there. But that's the Twitch community.
Yeah.
This is the
Support single
stuff that
supporter.
they'll reach out for and drive hours to go see, which which is good for us because later on today's episode, we have another Twitch streamer joining us. So stick around for that because why not on our 100th episode? Why not when we're starting a whole new kind of we introduce somebody new to ourselves, our listeners, and everybody else? Because I mean, that's the way you got to do this. Now, uh, anything you want to jump onto that the last 99 episodes have given you in regards of bright,
I mean,
shiny, new?
so many things. There's, I mean, I've had the opportunity to watch films that I haven't perhaps made time for, but always intended to watch, or getting a chance to do some really deep dives when we do our specials and things like this to actually like really explore. Or not even just our specials, but sometimes even our segments where we are talking about a specific media contribution and we want to, understand its history and sort of how it developed and how it came about and all of these things. I, of course, I'm a scientist, so I really enjoy doing research, of course, and getting a chance to really explore some of this stuff has been fascinating for me, getting some of these details. Um, but I think always the people make a big difference to me. I mean, I'm really grateful for, our encounters with Chris and the folks from Atoms to Ashes because they're just a bunch of great guys, and I'm really excited that they've got new material coming. Like they're in the process of, developing a whole new album right now, and that so the people are a thing. And also, I really like that we've been able to do some really good charitable stuff as well, like having. And so thanks very much to our listeners for that, because of course without the listeners and our supporters we wouldn't be able to do what we do with that. um, but it has been, it's very rewarding to get to participate in something like that. I had never really done much fundraising type stuff before getting involved in the podcast, so that was really special for me.
Yeah, that's been a huge thing. I mean, I didn't think that when we started the podcast that we'd go down that road. I just thought
Mhm.
we'd sit in front of computer screens and chitter chat about the fun and the exciting news and bits and do reviews and blah blah blah. And then when we started meeting some people who we're going to go through that whole list at some point in time in the next little while because there's been a ton of people. But then after talking to some of these people and getting involved with some of these people, we dove into the oh, why don't we put on a show and promote a show with a couple of these people and then make it a charitable event and then raised something like $3,500 for mental
Yeah.
health research and for the Canadian Mental Health Association and stuff like that. And that blew my mind as you were
Yeah.
just saying that we went from just wanting to do something with our free time to then getting involved in some good charities and some good fundraising efforts. Uh, and even if it's not the raising the money, because I mean, again, as you said, that's just on our listeners
Yeah.
and our
Yeah.
folk. I mean, we just put it out there that we would like to raise money for this. It's them that make the donations and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But to be able to do that and have like a voice, like now we instead of just using this as a place to chat, we now can venture out and use it as a means to bigger and better
Hmm.
and charitables.
It's not just entertainment, like
No,
I'm happy that we can use it beyond just that entertainment scope. I mean, I'm happy to do that too. I hope we make folk laugh sometimes, and I hope that we bring people to some new media that they would not otherwise explore. Um, because that's certainly been a major aspect of this for me too. Just getting a chance to learn about new things. I mean, I would never have watched The Vast of Night otherwise, and that was one of our first sort of like indie discoveries. I mean, it wasn't our discovery, but we found it in the process of looking for films to bring to our audience, and it was like, well, this seems like a cool thing, and we watched it, and we were like, holy crap, this is a great thing. So without this, there wouldn't have been that. So lots of like interesting new explorations.
yeah, that's been the most fun. Um, like you said, I mean, every single week we could just review the biggest things that came out.
Sure.
But I mean, that's great and that's good. But that's what we decided was everybody is going to go see the next Marvel movie. Everybody is going to go see, like, it doesn't matter what we say about it. Everybody's going to go see John Wick, and everybody's going to go see the Avengers, and everybody's going to go see Batmans and stuff like that. So my biggest, the most fun that I've had is, as you just kind of alluded to, was the introducing people to things that would be outside of their realm,
Mhm.
as we're introducing ourselves to things that aren't necessarily in our lane. It's fun to introduce other people to those same things and
Yeah. I mean,
bring
the marketing people will take care of the blockbusters. We don't really have to advertise the blockbusters, but when it comes to these smaller films, they often get they may pass with less notice unless they end up being at one of the big awards festivals, or like whether it be something like, Cannes, or even as big as the Oscars, then they get attention. But if it's just like, a little fantasy film or something along that line, maybe nobody ever notices. Not nobody, but far fewer people will notice it.
yeah.
So yeah.
But now that the world has somewhat gone back to normal, I'm hoping that we can expand and actually take our media credentials down to places like TIFF and
Yeah, that would be
whatnot, and
great.
take in some of these
Go to
festivals and some
Comic
of these
Con.
award shows in the flesh,
That would be
because
lovely.
that's what's on the agenda for the next 100 episodes, is to expand and grow and get bigger and better and meet more people and new people and everything else. Um, I guess the biggest thing that came from the podcast so far for me in the first 100 episodes is the music.
Mm,
Because I mean, like we said, we're gonna watch movies, we watch TV. It's basically how we pass our time, and then we talk about them. So those are always gonna be there. But being introduced to new music and independent music and finding the whole new, like, a music scene in Ottawa that I didn't really know existed
yeah, really,
before
that had.
starting the podcast, because of course
Mhm,
season 1, we're like, well, we don't want it to just be you and me chitter-chattering together for this whole time, so why don't we invite people on to come talk to us, as we stated, and we had like, a bunch of bands jump on and be like, "Hey, we'll come talk to you. We're a little independent band. We'd like to, you know, tell our story and chat it up." So we've met people, as you mentioned, Atoms to Ashes, Civilian, Cynical
mhm,
Sons, Taming
mhm,
Sari, Resist the Throne,
mhm,
um, like Rocket Engine, Feet After Midnight. A couple of those bands in Heat and stuff joined with us in our fundraising effort when we put on that big show at the Brass Monkey,
mhm.
which was a great time. But
Yeah, and
being
let's not forget
introduced,
Late Night Trouble,
Late
no,
Night Trouble, of course.
like, they're just, yeah, just this opportunity to get to meet these bands, and from Ottawa, and then from as far as like Montreal, kind of thing, and being able, but still, like, very much the local scene kind of thing.
Yeah. And then realizing by going to the shows and stuff like
Mhm,
that, because I mean, now we've been introduced these bands, we want to go see what they're all about. So taking in the shows and stuff, and then being introduced to other bands and uh stuff like that, you start to see just how big the small music, that, as I'm going to say it, how big the small music scene in these
mhm,
cities can be,
mhm.
and the crossover where, like, bands know other bands and meet other bands. And
Of
so we
course.
all met these bands singularly,
Mhm,
as we were just interview them and talk to them. And then our as we grew and the bands grew, then it was the crossover concerts and live shows that Civilian and Taming Sari were together. And you're
mhm,
like, well, this is fun because we met those bands at the same time. And now we get to see them on stage together. And then there'll be a new band, like a third band added to that venue. So now we've met that band. And it's the constant expansion of the people that we're meeting and the music that we're getting to listen to. And I mean, in the next little while, we've talked
mhm.
to numerous other bands that we're hoping to have on
Yes,
the
hopefully
podcast
we'll be able to line these things up.
in a couple of weeks as well. So
Uh,
this whole getting out of my shell,
mhm,
we'll say, and dropping the introvert uh, cape a little bit and throwing on my extrovert fucking goggles and helmet to get out there and
Definitely
fucking
need a helmet, like, seriously.
oh,
For
when I
us
go
folks that
outside,
are more
I need
used
my
to our
helmet.
couches in our living room, we need the helmet.
But getting me back out, and part of that, of course, like as everybody else who became introverted during the pandemic, I
Mhm,
mean, it takes a
mhm.
little while to get yourself back into the swing of things of going out in public and
Yes.
doing all that. And it's not like I was a hermit, and it's not like I was hiding from the world, but for a while there was no reason to leave the house, and leaving the house was potentially dangerous. So you just did do it. And then live shows slowly started to become a thing again, and there was like months on end where it was show after show after show, and I was going like out 3, 4 times, like in a very short span, and it got me to remember how much fun that is.
Mhm.
So I'd like to thank all of those people for, and again, now that we talk about movies and everything else more, it's forcing me out of uh to go to the movies even more.
Mhm.
Whereas before, yeah, I went to the movies a lot, but it was always for the big blockbuster. Every
Right.
Friday I go see the big blockbuster.
Yeah.
Now it's Friday the big blockbuster, and then some other day that week the smaller film
Yeah.
that also
Maybe
came out at the same time but is
and
kind of
maybe
being
going
buried.
going to the Mayfair a little bit more often,
The
and then,
Mayfair, the Bytown,
yeah.
and yeah, diving into these 2 venues that I went to numerous times in my more youthy, times, and then for some reason forgot about. I think the podcast has reintroduced me to a love of all the things I used to do
Yeah.
and wanted to get into. Like, I always wanted to make movies, and I always wanted to write movies, or I wanted to play music, or I wanted to, like, we all have these aspirations of being that. This, because I don't have the talent of doing any of those, are like the closest thing I can get to getting involved in those venues.
In the creative
Yeah. Yeah, I
kind of
can't
thing.
write a movie, but I can introduce 1,000 people or whatever it is to a new movie that I feel that they should get introduced to. I can't sing, I can't dance. Well, yeah, that's not true. I can fucking dance. If anybody's been around when I've had a few too many, you will see the moves. But anyway, I'm not an entertainer of enough talent to do that, but what I can do is what we can do is we can talk about all the stuff that we like, and it's almost like a feeling of being involved in it and
Mhm,
getting in there.
mhm,
So I think that's been my biggest takeaway of the first 100 episodes is just being able to in a quasi kind of way fulfill my love of wanting to be part of movies and film and music and everything else is now I kind of get to be in a offshoot kind of way.
yeah.
And I'm enjoying it and it's fun and I'm hoping we get to do a big 200th episode anniversary and
I
300th and blah 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 and
just might take us a little longer to get there.
well we did try and I mean you get the excitement of doing something new and you throw yourself into the deep end right away and then you suffer a little burnout after a while.
Well, also, pandemic times, again, we had neither of
Get
us really.
all the free time in the world.
Exactly. Like, there was much less demanding of our time kind of thing, and I'm not gonna complain about going out and doing things. God, no. But
Oh no, I mean the fact that so when the pandemic hit, we could literally record episodes anytime we wanted,
yeah,
weekly. But
yeah.
the only problem was there wasn't a ton going on.
Mm, mhm,
So we started basically, and there's no issue in it, but we basically started forcing ourselves to come up with fun and different things to talk about, which is great, creative stuff flowing, whatever. But now that life is kind of restarted and we're finding more of our free time out doing other stuff, meaning maybe less podcasty stuff. But the difference is now we have more stuff to bring to the
mm.
less podcasties. So every episode that we might only instead of recording every week, we might only record every second week.
Mhm.
the better thing is that we have more stuff to talk about now.
Yeah.
Bands touring, live shows going on, movies being back in the works, shows restarting and refilming all the time. So, um, yeah, it's gonna. I think from this point on, like the first 100 years, first 100 episodes are what they were. I think the
100
next
years.
100 episodes, yeah, the first 100 years, we've been here
Well, we
forever.
did go through a pandemic, and that's roughly 105 years,
It
I think, is what
if
occurred
it
there. So,
felt
yeah.
it felt long, yes. And now that the world is back open, days and weeks and stuff just scream by, and you're like, "Did I do anything of relevance or fun?" But
Yeah.
so what we're saying is we're gonna be here for another 100 episodes. And now, again, it may take us a little longer to get there, but we're hoping that each episode on the way is filled with more because we have more to talk about and we have more to do and we can get out and go to festivals and go to comic cons and go to live shows and take in more movies and interviewing people. Maybe now we can do it in person instead of
Oh my god.
this. Which
It
which this has been a godsend to us.
Yeah,
I mean, without the world going to this virtual thing, I mean, one of us lives here, one of us does not, here being Ottawa and there being Germany. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do the podcast
no,
without it's like I don't even think we would have figured out how to do the podcast in the way we did it if the world hadn't shut down for a while.
perhaps
Like
not. It would have been much more challenging to
would have
navigate.
been yeah. So now that the world is reopened and the podcast is going to change a little bit, those challenges are going to get added to it. But now we've had 100 episodes of practice behind us to start working out the kinks.
One thing I wanted to also mention is that
No.
no.
Okay, go ahead. Why not?
One thing I wanted to say too is that, like, we've talked about, exploring outside of our creative comfort zones, kind of thing, with like our normal sort of pop culture consumption, but it's also been, I think, eh, going back to what you said about getting out of your sort of introvert bubble.
Oh,
It's
do you mean every time I shat myself because I was trying to send messages to bands and everybody to come on the podcast and reaching out to strangers? And I live in a very big stranger danger bubble.
Yeah, but it's even like, for me, the notion of, like, freely sort of sharing my opinion of these kinds of things to just, the world, kind of thing.
Yeah,
This is
that's been
not
different too. I mean,
it, it's
that
different.
might have been easier for me because I like to just shoot the shit and basically tell people what I like. Whereas
I like to
you
shoot the shit with you, which
yeah,
is
yeah.
the only reason that I, the only
Oh, no,
reason I
I
can
couldn't have done this on my own. Like, I couldn't have just sat here staring at a screen and tried to tell a bunch of strangers my thoughts on this movie or this thing or whatever.
Mhm.
This made it easier because I'm talking to you,
Yeah.
not necessarily them. I mean, I love them and I'm glad that they're out there listening,
Thank you.
but
Yes.
I'm really just talking to you and hoping that everybody else gets the fact that I'm talking to them too indirectly.
Yeah. But
But yeah, it's been weird.
yeah, I think you and I have experienced some personal growth, and this is good.
Whoa, whoa,
I
whoa.
know it's a big word.
I do not grow. Okay. I hit a moment in my life, an age, a time, and a mentality,
That's it.
and just decided that that was it.
No.
That was where it was all gonna stop. I was
Mm,
perfectly fine right
mhm,
there in that
mhm.
time, and I didn't want to grow. I was somewhat happy. Okay, I was content. Okay, I was mostly miserable, but I was safe. I was safe in my own little bubble. And then
So
we
I
did
think,
this, not realizing that we'd have to let other people and other things and other weirdness into our bubbles.
yeah. Well, I mean, I have to have definitely gained some self-confidence here, because not only now are we doing audio, but now we're doing video. And before it was like, oh my God, somebody's gonna see my face. No, I don't like it. so so
Yeah,
you
not
know,
only do people have to listen to us now, but they have to see us.
oh God, I'm sorry, people. Really.
By the way, that is why I now hide my face behind my microphone.
Your
You
face
can't
is
see
handsome.
me.
Come on now. You don't need to hide.
No, I'm not hiding. It's just this is
this is also the comfy spot for you. So,
It's
you know,
the comfy spot.
again.
It's where I am. So, the podcast, 100 episodes.
Mhm.
It's changed us. It's made us
It has.
better or
It,
worse.
nah,
It's made
better,
us different.
definitely.
Talking to different people. Didn't think I'd be able to do that. Not that I'm afraid of talking to people, but interviewing people is totally
Different,
different.
different thing. Different thing.
And then sitting here and doing reviews and stuff like that and thinking that people might care about our views on something or and some of the best has been the interaction with our
Mhm.
listeners. We'll get on
Yes.
that now too, is the fact
Yes.
that I had like messages come in on our social medias and stuff like that of people who have watched one of the movies because we
Mhm.
recommended it or
Yes.
picked up one of the shows and said like, "Oh, I didn't know what I was going to watch." And then I listened to your last episode. You talked about Yellow Jackets or Ted Lasso or something, and I gave it a watch and fuck, it was really good.
Yeah.
So I've really liked the fact that I've gotten some feedback about that that people aren't just like absent-mindedly listening to us, which is fine too. I mean,
Mhm.
if you want to listen to us and not take anything that we say to heart and go about like that's perfectly fine. We're not trying to force people into
Yep.
liking what we like, but it's fun to hear that some people have checked out something that maybe they wouldn't have previously
Mhm.
because we've recommended it on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really,
Speaking
really,
of
really nice.
recommending things on the podcast,
Uh-huh.
if you pay attention to our socials,
Uh-huh.
you're going to see that in celebration of our 100th episode anniversary of sorts, we're going to put out some posts.
Yeah.
And these posts are, I think we have three of them that we've currently finished. And it took a long time to finish it. And there was some arguments and there was some not pleasantness as we tried to whittle these things down to just 100 because what we're going to put out is our 100 must watch movies
Mhm.
for the casual viewer, I would
Yeah.
say. I
People
don't
who
think
like
we
pop culture stuff. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
the
don't think we did too much deep diving. I mean, I would like to do another list of like for cinephiles, like this
mm,
is I think our list of 100 movies is just movies that any casual movie goer, movie lover, film lover, whatever, should probably watch.
yeah.
Like they're in different genres, and I think that they all display something of a director's choice or a writer, like good writing, directing. There's always something about the movies that we put on this list that are endearing in some way,
Mhm.
and we feel that just anybody of any ilk, blah blah blah, could probably sit down and enjoy most of
Yeah.
the movies on this list. Like we're not forcing you to watch something so niche in our like in what we like that it could put somebody else off. These are just
Although we did put Videodrome on there.
we did. Yeah, there are some, but that was like I think it was somebody like Cronenberg needed to be on the list.
Oh god, yes, of course.
And if you're
Cronenberg.
going to put Cronenberg on a list, you need to give them Cronenberg.
And we had the whole debate, of course, because there's different Cronenberg. But anyway, so these are by no means complete lists, but they sort of are an introductory list. It's a really, I feel like these are really good primers
Yeah.
to get you introduced to other styles of films.
Yeah,
And
that's the
yeah,
best way to put it.
yeah,
These are the 100 films to introduce you to film, basically, and to give you all of the different genres and
yeah. And
feels
a
and
lot of,
everything that movies can bring you, emotions and stuff that maybe expands your your want of taking in other
yeah,
movies and stuff like that.
and a
And
lot
then
of
we did the
these
same thing
for TV series. Yeah.
for TV series,
Mhm.
and I did the same thing for video games.
Nice.
So check our socials in the next little while. We're going to
Mhm.
be putting out a bunch of posts about our not top 100, our must watch 100 films, series, and must play games, in
Mhm.
my and our personal opinion.
Yes.
And as just a way, like we said, to introduce you to these things if you're not really the cinephiles and stuff that we claim to be. And
I mean, we're definitely film geeks. There is
we're
no
film geeks, yes.
absolutely we are film geeks. I might go so far as to define myself as a cinephile. I might, but I don't know. Like I'm not hypercritical or anything like that. I love movies. I just love them. They can be blockbusters, they can be indie films, they can be super serious dramas, they can be, nonfiction, whatever. I just
Yeah,
like
I
this.
think our lists for all 3 are, as you said, for the movie lovers, like the TV lovers or the gamers of us all that just want to kind of take in a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
They're not we're not so snobbish.
We are not snobbish about these things.
We like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So look forward to those.
Mhm.
What else do we have? I think that's it.
I
I
I
mean, we
mean,
looked back, we looked forward. I mean, now, one thing is we have to celebrate the fact that we've made 100 episodes
mhm.
by talking about other things that have made 100 episodes
Yes, and of
and what
course,
they did with that.
most of
Because the
the
best thing is sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say most, of course, nowadays for something to reach 100 episodes is much more challenging. In the days of network TV, it was still a big deal, like, because basically if you hit 100 episodes, that meant that you had about 5 seasons, and it usually meant that you were going to go into syndication, which of course was a big deal for any company that made a television program.
Yeah, the
So
100 episode mark is pretty much the syndication mark.
yeah,
If you can get past
so
there,
yeah, and some of our favorite shows hit 100s and did something really special for those. And that's, so we wanted to mention a couple of those episodes to and on the podcast today.
because I mean, we did something special with our 100th episode.
Still,
We just sat here and talked like we
yeah,
always do.
it's what we do though.
Oh, so so we didn't do anything special for our 100th episode. So we're going to talk about other things that did do something special with their 100th episode because that's what
We
we're
do
going
have
to do.
something special. We have a special guest later.
We do have a special guest, and we did a little reminiscing. And I
Yeah.
mean, the best thing is some of the shows that we're about to talk about. That's what they did with their 100th episode.
Mhm.
Is they
Yes.
just did look backs.
Yep.
Oh, but there's one thing that I noticed about a lot of these 100 episodes.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know if we can do it. Can we, for like a couple of minutes, turn this into a musical? Can we
I
sing?
don't know, but for copyright purposes, I don't know if we can do that.
Because I've found out that a lot of the 100th episodes of some of the things become musicals. Xena, for her 100th episode,
Battle of the
Xena
Bands.
organized a battle of the bands.
Yep.
And basically, we had a musical episode of Xena. And it was just a way for her to distract these warring factions. Just
Mhm.
did a battle of the bands. So for
Yep.
the 100th episode of Xena, let's do a musical episode.
Yep.
And it fit. And uh, other shows to do that, How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, okay.
How I
Yeah.
Met Your Mother, their 100th episode, which is called Girls versus Suits, basically ended with a big song and dance number because we all know how Neil Patrick Harris
Oh,
enjoys his
well, of
song and
course.
dance.
Right. Yes. Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
we did that.
I mean, one of my favorites, of course, is the 100th episode of Scrubs, which did the whole big tribute to like Wizard of Oz and sang with the a cappella somewhere over the rainbow. I mean that episode is super special. So it's one of
Yeah,
my.
and I mean the way that they tied it in with like Turk looking for a heart for a new
Mhm.
patient,
Yes.
and Elliot looking for the courage because she's got to stand up in front of people to read a paper, and um,
I think JD was just always looking for his brain. Come on.
yeah, JD just looking for his brain, and just all of them wanting to go home.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, JD was wanting to go home because he was forced to work at the hospital or come in on his day off,
Ha.
and he just wanted to go home. So
Right.
he was the Dorothy in the whole thing.
Gotcha.
And just the way that they pulled it off was absolutely amazing. And Scrubs has always been an amazing show. Um, Also, shout out to something like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who celebrated
Oh,
their 100th episode on their 99th episode.
yeah. They just celebrated their 99th because 99. So,
Nine-Nine.
and Star Trek Next Generation and the
Star
X
Trek Next
Files also
Generation.
had a special thing. I found out that one of my favorite shows, Fringe, ended on its 100th episode.
There was a couple that they did that too.
Yeah, I thought that was really. I was like, "Ooh, nicely done."
I mean, there's a ton of shows that made 100 episodes, but we're just talking about some of our favorite shows and the ones that did their 100th episode in a somewhat grandiose fashion,
Yeah,
or at least
and
like mark the occasion by doing something, either delivering their best episode with some
mhm,
like huge cliffhanger or story ending, like climax or whatever, or just ones like, as you mentioned, Star Trek: The Next Generation brought back uh, a cast member who we lost from the show like
in the
3
first
episodes
season.
in, and of course
Yeah,
Tasha Yar.
yeah. That was a
So bringing
that
back
that
an old
moment
cast
was,
member.
like, jaw-dropping to see Denise Crosby again. But, of course, I think one of the first shows where I really acknowledged the 100th episode would have been Buffy
Buffy was
because,
the big one because
you know,
I think nobody can really I'm sure people can't argue, but
and
I don't know if I would argue that The Gift is not the best Buffy episode,
hmm,
possibly, ever.
it's up there.
It's
It's
right up
absolutely up
there, and
there.
of course, they did that with
I mean, it
the,
was devastating. In in the emotional sense of it, it was
yeah, so
fantastic.
maybe not the best episode, but I think the most emotional,
One of the most deeply emotional ones. Yeah,
yeah, episodes. So, of course, they did that,
yeah.
for their 100th episode, which is a smart move. Um, yeah, so we're doing our 100th episode. So
Mhm.
now we have to sing, cry, and then end the podcast completely.
No.
And then we've done all the
All the
gravios.
requisite things can
Yeah, the
I don't
requisite things to do on a 100th episode.
I don't wanna end. Nope. I
Okay,
still
we'll continue
I have
on.
things to talk about. Not right now, for later episodes.
But what can we talk about? Because we
Well,
had plans.
I
I
mean,
was thinking, I mean, like we're here.
what is
Where's our 2023 things? We have
Oh, well,
stuff
certainly.
coming
I
up.
mean, one of our big things that we're gonna have coming up next month, so we've talked, of course, about that we're trying to get some interviews, happening, but one of the episodes next month is going to be a Bollywood special.
Oh, I can't wait for the Bollywood special.
Because and we want to introduce people who may have not taken in this style of film much themselves, to some sort of good foundational films to try out. It's a fantastic film in style in general. It is one of the, if not the largest movie industry in the world, and you're missing out if you're not taking it. So we're definitely going to be doing something along that, doing something for that. I do believe we are in plans for having another Pride special
Another
in June.
Pride special. We were planning on that. We have a bunch of anniversaries coming up that we're tying segments into.
Hmm.
Like in May, it's the 50th anniversary of Soylent Green.
Oh, is it? I thought no, June for that one, isn't it?
I
Or
have it
November?
written as May.
Oh shit. Well then, it's whenever that happens.
Whenever that actually happens, we're going to be doing a big segment on those,
Epic twists.
yeah, the epic twists in
Yeah.
movies that you didn't see coming that shocked us to the core.
Hmm.
So I wanted to say it like that dramatically.
One thing we
Um,
didn't mention that I can't believe that we didn't talk about at all is the our month long feature horror features in October, which I
oh, yeah, we
personally
love
think
doing
are
those.
pretty freaking amazing. Like I love those.
Oh, I mean, the stuff that we've come up from the beginning, we haven't gotten to everything. We
Of course.
try, we get through it, but this same like nobody can see this probably, but like this is our like oh, don't turn like that. This is like our list of like all the things that we like plan on doing over the next like little while in this
It's
season of the podcast. There's so much that we
we
want to
are
get
we have
to.
any inspirations possible.
So I guess we do have to do this for another 100 episodes because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
easy.
shit to talk about.
Yeah,
So
and
look forward because in the next little while, as we said, we're basically dedicating an episode every month to something for
some
that
special.
month.
Yeah.
Like for June, of course, June is Pride Month.
Hmm.
May is International. What is it?
It's a celebration of the Pan Asian culture. is
That's
for me. Yeah.
this is why I leave these up to you.
Yeah.
So that's where we're gonna do our Bollywood episode. In October again, we do our full on 31 days of whatever horror Halloweeny thing that we want to talk about. And then we always have a couple of specials in there. Um,
And there will be more. There's always more.
and there's always more, and we come up with stuff as we continue to go and go and go. Canada Day, probably do another Canada Day episode,
Yeah. So
Canadiana episode.
creators that live in Canada, for sure. That's always an important thing to draw attention to, because we have a great there is like a fantastic industry in Canada in general, and it doesn't get nearly as much attention as it deserves, I think.
We will make sure it does.
Hmm.
Anyway, that's it.
I think that's
Covered a
enough.
lot.
I
We still
think
have a guest to get to.
we do.
So we don't want to take up all of your time because we'd like to talk to our special guest for as long as we can as well. And yeah, so stick around
Mhm.
because that'll be happening in mere moments. And we will most likely be wearing different apparel and look vastly different because we're not recording that at the same time as we're recording this.
Well, I
But
mean, it
through
would
the
have been very
magic of
unkind to ask him
editing,
to get up this damn early.
what?
I said it would have been very unkind to ask him to get up that damn early.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that is true. Anyway, so through the magic of editing, on with the episode.
yeah.
Or sorry, on with the interview. Oh, oh. Okay, wait. I fucked everything up there. I didn't have the button ready to do the
Oh, okay.
pressy press.
Now we
Okay,
will see
so
you soon.
now through the magic of episode, we will welcome our special guest. Oh wait, no, that's going back in time in Wayne's World. Fuck that up too. Shit. Just ruined everything. It's supposed to be 100th episode celebration. I ruined it. I'll be fine. Bye bye. No, wait, don't fuck not bye bye. Stick around.
Don't listen
See,
to
this
this
is what
guy
happens when we record
almost
at different
ever.
times. When everything's not in a nice, cohesive line.
We can take it out later if we want.
I could, but that would be lying to our audience.
True. And it wouldn't be
And
as
I
funny.
want them to know just how much I fuck up in things. And now, through the miracle of magic, look, there's another person. They just appeared. They just joined. They were not here a minute ago. They're here now. Of course. We talked about it earlier. We were going to have a special guest today on the 100th episode. Oh, by the way, Luke.
What?
Luke or Lucas?
If I'm in trouble, Lucas, but
Well,
Luke is
we'll
good.
see how this goes.
Yeah.
For now, we'll stick with Luke. Joining us on our, you got to join us on our 100th episode.
Oh,
We had a special little celebration today. I say
Congrats.
celebration. We just basically did like a best of clip where we talked about our favorite moments of the past 100 episodes that we've recorded. And then brought you aboard.
honored. I feel honored. That's crazy.
Well,
So-
one of our favorite things to do with our podcast is to talk to musicians, and musicians that are like, trying to get their stuff out there. So you fit in perfectly with the whole thing that we like to do, and we're really happy to meet you. So professionally, you go by LJP, correct? Like it's LJP music? Or?
It's LJP music on Twitch. It's LJP on every streaming platform, simply because Luke by himself in a room doesn't really sound like a good band name. And I just don't
know.
want to.
That's pretty catchy.
Hey, maybe like a side project. And I just couldn't really come up with like John Mayer sounds cool. Luke Paluch doesn't really sound cool, So I just did the initials LJP, and then
Sounds good.
Yeah, people always say LPJ when they read it. I'm like, sure, it's whatever. Just listen to the music. Just listen to the music.
just go with it. So you have been. So you're joining us from where right now?
I'm in Vancouver Island in Canada.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful place in Canada. One of the prettiest parts of it, I would say.
Honestly. It is. Not today, but
No.
yeah. But it might change in 30 minutes.
Oh, it sounds like Ottawa weather.
Yeah.
Except we have no snow really and no -40. And I was in the ocean for a few days ago taking a little dip.
Wind.
So
Yeah.
that's the reason I left Ottawa.
Yeah. Oh, you from Ottawa originally?
Originally born and raised in Poland, and I immigrated to Ottawa in 89.
Oh,
So
wow.
that
Okay.
shows my age. Yeah, and I lived in Ottawa for most of my life. A little 5.5, 6 year stint in Dublin in Ireland,
Cool.
and back to Ottawa, and then just moved here in last May.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Very nice.
Ah, one of those people who escaped to BC, like most of my friends from 10 so years. There was like a mass exodus to BC and Vancouver of like most of my friends about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. My brother escaped here a long time ago. My wife's brother, her sister. Yeah.
Nice. Now, you have been making music for some time. I saw now I've seen your discography on Spotify, which seems to start around 2018, but I'm sure you have been making music for much longer than that. So, tell us a little bit about your musical history and kind of where you got started and where you're trying to go, maybe.
So the discography is correct. 2018, 2017. That's when I kind of did my first solo project, and that's when I kind of started doing things on my own because I couldn't. I didn't want to start another band and be
Mm,
playing clubs, and then original music turns into, well, you got to play more cover songs to get a gig, and then your original repertoire goes down to play more cover songs anyway. So that was my like venture into me doing it on my own. But yeah, I've been playing music since I was 14.
nice.
And the reason I picked up a guitar, I just really wanted to learn how to play Blue Suede Shoes. I was a
Huh.
big I was a big Elvis fan.
Ah,
Yeah, and
he's
then
soft
that
spot there.
yeah, and then that took me all of 7 minutes.
Ha!
So
Well,
then yeah, and then you're a teenager, so you listen to those um, Metallica, AC/DC, Iron Maiden. That was kind of like my upbringing music
of course. Yeah, same
from
for
Eastern
most of us.
Europe, and then you got your Alice in Chains, and that came in. But yeah, Angus Young was really big for me.
I
Then
bet.
Eddie Van Halen, and then
If you're a
one day,
guitar appreciator, yeah.
yep. And then one day, my dad called me downstairs, and it was Bob Dylan's. I think it was his 30th anniversary something show.
Okay.
I can't remember what the anniversary was for, but it was 30th anniversary, and had everybody was on the show, and
Mm.
he's like, "Look at this guy. That's Eric Clapton. That's what you should be listening to." And I was like, I don't know, I was like 15, 14. I was like, guy with short hair with glasses playing a Stratocaster. I'm like, what? He's not cool.
yeah, that's not a rock star.
That's not a rock star. And then there was no like internet, right? So, like, who is Eric Clapton? And then yeah, so I was like, okay, cool, but he could play guitar. So I was like, all right. And then kind of, you see a CD, you start grabbing one here and there. And I think the best stuff was the first one I ever bought of Eric Clapton. And then the first song on it, I think, it's either Cocaine.
Mhm.
And then it went to some Cream stuff, and then that clicked for me. As soon
Yeah.
as I heard Cream, I was like, okay,
This is the stuff.
yeah. And then I went out and got Wheels of Fire, and to this day, still that live version of Spoonful is just, it's incredible. Yeah, so I kind of got in that way, and then as most people do, you go Clapton or whatever your favorite blues artist is when you're growing up, and then you go backwards. And then I found my way all the way back to the old bluesman. And I kind of gave up that Eddie Van Halen, all the fancy stuff, which is really cool to do, really good practice.
Mhm.
Um, but looking back at it now, I never really felt it. Like I didn't feel it playing it. It was just doing it,
It was just fun finger action,
just
basically.
yeah. It's like cool. And then yeah, just started more blues, and then that kind of became my thing. And yeah, had a pretty popular band back in Ottawa when we were in high school. And then we changed singers eventually, and that kind of got even bigger. And there was some label interest, and we kind of killed that with just becoming a cover band. And that's when I started hating playing music. Pretty much, I just wanted to write songs.
Yeah.
And years later, ended up moving to Ireland and found a band by chance. and they were a completely different genre. They're kind of more into like Radiohead and like TV and radio and like bands that I was never really into, and
Okay.
somewhat I fit in. And that was a pretty big band in Ireland. We were featured on a bunch of magazines and toured, but through Europe, and even got flown to South by Southwest and CMW,
Wow.
CMJ.
Very cool.
So that was great, and yeah, it was all original, which was amazing. And then as things happen, and that ended. And then we moved to Ottawa, back to Ottawa, and that was, I think, 2015, 16. And I was like,
Enough.
I'm
Not
done.
here.
I think I'm done. I'm always going to play guitar, but like, I'm done. That kind of, that was like a heartbreaker. That band breaking up was like, oh, we're so close. The band was so good. The music was so good.
Mm.
And then picked up a guitar and wrote a song and started doing things on an iPad and kind of just recorded that. And then I was like, well, I guess I got to sing, but I can't sing. So I guess we got to practice that a little bit. And then, you know, if anyone out there wants to listen to their first album, it's very basic, very not where I'm at now. And vocals aren't that great on most songs, I don't think. Um, and it just kind of evolved from there. But I just kept writing and writing. And year and a half ago or so, someone was like, you should go on Twitch. I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, you should just go. I'm like, okay. And then I checked it. I was like, I don't get it. Like, who's gonna come watch me write songs? He's like, well, if you're sitting in your room writing songs by yourself, just hit the go live button, and you never know
Just
what's gonna happen. Yeah. I was like, sure, man. And well, a year and a half later, I'm here, and I've have an awesome community that literally I can put out whatever kind of song type genre, do whatever I want on it, and they support it and they encourage me, and the creative freedom is amazing. And
that's
I think that's why I'm here, and that's how I met you guys.
Well, I mean, we're similar in the way that our podcast started because we sit around talking about movies and music and the things we like and blah, blah, and we're like, let's just do it in front of a couple of microphones and throw it out there and see what happens. So,
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to be doing the thing you love anyway, why not put it out to the masses? It
Mhm.
seems that's the way of the world today, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've never even done like an Instagram live, performance or Facebook before that. It was literally just like, okay, I guess we're doing this Twitch thing, and kind of just jumped in head first all the way in, and
It
I don't
does
know,
seem
I'm
it
having
does
fun.
seem like a really great community in there. A lot of really like artists supporting other artists. It seems like a really warm environment in general, which I think is really fantastic. I really enjoyed listening to your stuff actually. It's super like dreamy and atmospheric, and I really like the feel kind of thing. It's like the kind of thing that I want to listen to if I'm wanting to chill. So
Perfect.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
What's
That's
do you so you have quite recently put out an EP, right? The 45?
Yeah, 45. So it didn't start last year as anything. I was in Costa Rica for the winter as we were kind of moving. We moved a long way to Vancouver Island through Costa Rica. Um,
Nice.
and
I saw a video that had you down sitting on the like front stoop of a house, and that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I only had the well, it didn't look like this when I took it with me because there's new artwork in it, and we just put new
Ooh,
pickups in. But I had this cheapy Squire with me, and literally just a laptop and an iPad, and I was like, I have a few song ideas, and I'll just do it. So I recorded there's 4 songs. Um, Everything's done on an iPad with this guitar, even the bass parts, except for one song.
wow.
I had somebody help me through the power of the internet to play bass, send me the file. But anyway, so I did an EP on my birthday 2 years ago, and I was like, hey, maybe every year on March 4th, I release an EP with 4 songs on it.
That's kick ass.
So
That's a
this
cool
this year I
idea.
was like, well, we have 4 songs. There's actually a bonus one on Bandcamp. It's 5, so let's do 45, and that's my age. So
There we go.
Okay, so now that you've aged yourself, and I've
yeah,
realized that you're pretty much the same age as we are,
Yeah.
can we talk about what band you were playing with in Ottawa?
okay. So the first band was Sandmouth.
Okay.
I
Um,
know Sandmouth.
Shut up, really?
Yeah. I actually have some of your songs, I think, on one of my playlists here. I
And
was
if you
introduced to them from my friend Mary Beth, or you guys, I guess. One of my friends, Mary Beth.
Well,
That
then.
is
yeah, so Mary Beth, I went to I went to college with her. And then
Oh, that's
And we come full circle
the
to
world is
20
good
small.
night.
some years later.
Good night, everybody. And then what happened is, yeah, so that would have been the time that Sandmouth was peaking.
Yeah.
And then our singer was the youngest one, and he wanted to go to college. We're like, "What are you doing? We go to college? You can't go to college. We're gonna be rock stars." So he went, and then we changed singers and became Stone Melodies.
Yeah.
Same
Okay.
guys, different singer, and that kind of took off better. Our song, because Sandmouth was very grungy. Like we would, the only covers we would do would be like Frank Zappa songs,
Oh, wow.
like maybe two or three here, and mostly originals. And it was heavy, it was hard, very melodic, but like
Yeah.
we didn't give a shit. Wait, can I curse on this a little bit?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Absolutely, we swear all the
There we
fucking
go.
time.
Amazing. So yeah, we didn't give a shit. We just did whatever we wanted to. And then the singer that came into Stone Melodies was more polished, very good writer, great voice, and it kind of polished us. And then you get a manager, you get a booking guy, and like everything kind of from this went to like, oh, maybe like this, and it was fun for a bit. And then I was like, well, this sucks. Now we're like a hard rock kind of whatever, and now you tell me that my guitar solo needs to be 30 seconds shorter.
Mm.
I was like, all right, but yeah,
So,
we won.
so
We won a
your
few
creativity got limited, and that's
kind of, yeah. I felt like we're just writing the same thing over and over, and it kind of had to be this. It couldn't be that. Um, and then I was like, yeah, I'm getting married, and like, screw it, I'm going to live in Europe. And
nice.
went my zip you heard of Sandmouth.
I literally, if we weren't doing an interview, I'd pull up my my Apple playlist there. I have your one album, your one EP, something like 8 songs or whatever, like on
Yeah,
my computer right now.
you must have had that. Like, it's only available through a CD, which I don't even know if I have anymore. I have it on my
I'm fairly sure that Mary Beth had the CD
yeah.
and I may have burnt the songs off of it.
Well, you owe me 15.59.
Probably. Yeah.
Don't tell the other guys.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, that time would have been our last album or EP. 8 songs would have been Speed Bump Euphoria with cartoon characters on the cover, I think.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
that's
That's
great.
hey, that's a good album. I still put it on, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that, what we did as kids, pretty much. It was
There was like a good couple of months in a row there where that a couple of songs from that became those types where I played them so much that I had to like take a break from them
yeah.
just because I was in love with them for like so long, just in a row, just overplayed, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna ruin these songs. Then I didn't listen to them for I don't know how long, and now here we are. Now I'm just gonna have to dig them back up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
of
and you're
course
gonna
send you your $15.
yeah.
It's okay. We'll blame Mary.
Royalties are
We'll blame
are
Mary
owed.
Beth. What's that?
I just said royalties are owed.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
inflation too. Inflation too.
Oh no,
uh-oh.
inflation nowadays! I think
Oof.
that album's now gonna cost me like $276.
Probably.
But this is
That's
great.
awesome.
That's just super cool. So you must have played at just because, going down the memory lane for a second, you must have played at like Tucson's and things like this.
We never played Tucson's, but we would sell out Barrymore's a few times.
Oh, very much.
Zaphod's.
Same thought, of course. These
Yeah.
are classic fucking
I
places.
think I saw you
Classic.
at Barrymore's with Mary Beth.
Yeah, probably well, it could have been we did a few big shows at the end there, yeah, over the last few years. It's funny because I'm looking at your face and like, you kind of look familiar. Like, I'm not shitting you. I'm like, this guy kind of looks familiar.
Well, it was
He's
funny
screaming.
because when I checked out some of your Twitch and your streams, the guitar, I was like, this is very reminiscent of stuff that I've heard. Like you're
Same one. This is also the same one, man. I've had this
Oh.
since I was this is 1990. This is the 1996 Gibson Studio Light model.
like it was like a rock band, but you had like a bluesy kind of like guitar riff like injected into a bunch of your songs.
Yeah.
And like some really kind of bluesy, jazzy, like bass, like rips in there. It was anyway.
Yeah.
We got to find a
have
way
to
of getting that
say-
album back out to the world.
Yeah.
There's still some hardcore fans, man. I'm surprised.
There you
Like
go.
there's some people that kind of reach out like, man, I still love this album. I was like, do you want to burn me a copy? Send it because I can't find mine. I don't know where it is. Yeah, I'm sure I have it somewhere, but
Music lives in us forever, right? Like
yeah.
if you end up happening on some good stuff, it sticks. And I was really enjoying listening to I was watching and listening to one of your most recent Twitch stream today. And just, the way that you just play, and the guitar just sounds beautiful. Like you play beautifully,
Thank you.
obviously.
Well, I always say I'm a guitar player primarily, then a songwriter, and then a singer in that order. So that kind of comes naturally, and
Mhm.
everything else is a little bit more work.
Yeah, but still it sounds really great. So now, of course, there was that time where everybody was sort of shut in their house and not, able to perform live. Are you also doing live performances in the Vancouver area now?
No, there's one club here, club kind of, yeah, I guess they're like, yeah, you should come do open mic. You should do open mic, and I'm like, if I go to open mic, and I've tried, I'm like, I could try to do something on the acoustic, but then I don't really want to sit there and strum a song and
Mm,
sing it. That's not my. Yeah, some people might be like, well, it's a really nice song. Never heard you before. Kind of cool, but I'm like, it's not really my thing. It's not going to showcase the overall, or my overall sound, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
okay.
I'm like, so okay, so then I bring the amp, then I bring the loop pedal. I'm gonna loop one song for like 8 minutes with guitar solos. I'm like, is that appropriate? Then I'm like, well, then I gotta lug everything, or I can just sit here and go live.
And share your music that way, and
Yeah.
be able to reach even more people potentially. So
Exactly, and like someone be like, oh, really cool. It's like, can I buy your CD? No, but you can, just go on Spotify or like click here. Or most of the time, and like I'll be honest, like I love live music, but when I'm in a brewery or like a bar and it's like, oh, it's Thursday and it's open mic. Well, cool. I guess the vibe's gone from this brewery. Like, I think there's a time and place for that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so no, I have not played live.
yeah, but
Except
you're
in,
happy doing what you're doing, which is great.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
and then maybe if there's something happening, like, oh, hey, just pop up on stage. If it's something like having more organic, if you're there, like, hey, you play, come up. I would rather be more inclined to like sit in with a live band doing something and maybe just play some leads and not be, LJP singer songwriter. I just want to play a guitar like here
Yeah.
and there.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you've found something that you enjoy doing, and that I'm not going to say it's easy, but you have your setup, you have your followers, you have the people that are interested in your stuff, and you're getting it out there in a way that you enjoy. So why really do you need to do anything different?
Yeah, exactly. I've done my, touring days and all that stuff, and just I couldn't be arsed.
Yeah, I mean, you got to live the quote unquote rock star life of such, and now you're
Yeah,
still doing what you like doing. You're still making music, and on your new EP, you've collaborated with a bunch of other artists and
two more
musicians, which is
artists, yeah,
great. So
and the full album before that in November. So in total, between the album that came out in November and this
Mm,
together and the EP 45, I think there's 13 Twitch musicians.
that's awesome.
Um, one of them is technically a visual artist, Art and Jess, Brenda, also from
Still,
Ottawa.
yeah,
I saw her doodling on kazoo. I was like, Brenda, you gonna be on my album? She's like, what? I'm like, if you can whistle, if you can hum, you can play the kazoo. Here's a song, play on it.
that's awesome.
So she
that,
sent me some stuff, and I just kind of, made it fit in. And yeah, Brenda now is an actual musician on an album.
That's wicked.
Um, yeah, yeah. So that's and that's like one of the things that I'm blown away. If you look at some of the names that were like, yeah, no, I'd love to be in your song. I was like, what? Okay, well, this is cool. I'm like, all right, let's just grow this collab and like, create this crazy internet Twitch super group where everybody can just be like, hey, I need a bass part. I need a backup vocal. I need this. I need that. Like, and then what is it? We're three now. Three artists been like, hey, can you do like a guitar thing on my song? I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I don't have to write a song. I can just play a guitar part. Yes, send it to me.
yeah, and I mean, and it's the introducing other people to the community, because of course, looking at the list of names that you've collabed with, I've now started checking out their stuff as well, and just
That's awesome.
as the
Yeah,
community just keeps on growing, because I mean, we're also doing this for our own benefit at the same time, if we can have more people on to talk about their stuff, then that gives us other things to do and talk about and introduce more people to more people and more people. So, I mean, this is the whole Twitch thing. As like when you first said that when you got introduced to it, I have no clue really what it is, how it works, but it seems to be an amazing thing. So,
Yeah, and it's different too. I find, and I'm sure it's changed over the years because I haven't been in a live venue or music setting with other bands, but there's zero competition on Twitch.
That's wicked.
yeah,
That's
It's
wicked. It's like,
back in the day, it was always like, oh well, if these guys if these guys open up for us, and like they kind of try to upstage us. Well, let's change our set list. Let's do this. Yeah, I'm gonna freaking light my guitar on fire. Let's go. I'll jump up the Barrymore's thing. Yeah, it's like, man, why is it was always like a we got to be better. We got to be
yeah,
better. It's
to
like, yeah, it's
up the ante every time, and this one is just
yeah,
all much more
yeah,
supportive. Well, that's
yeah.
awesome. I'm
And
glad.
I have to mention another auto artist back
Oh,
to the
please.
whole how I ended up on Twitch. So I got introduced to Twitch, and then I kind of did it. I was doing it for a month or so, and then Danielle Allard, which I know you guys know, Danny.
We love her
yeah,
very much. She's amazing.
I always say Danny kind of took me from the trenches and brought me up to a big community, and that
Oh,
I feel like without Danny, I'd probably I don't know where I would be right now, but yeah, I'm always praising Danny, and she's a fantastic human, and that whole community is great. So yeah, that was I got lucky, and yeah, nice to have some friends like that
yeah,
nice.
and talented musicians. She's the
Mm.
only artist that I actually do a cover song of,
Oh,
and
okay.
you can find that maybe on YouTube, maybe not. Anyway,
Nice.
shout out to Danny.
Yes,
a
she
huge
deserves it.
shout out to
All the
Danny.
shout outs.
Now, for our listeners who might be interested, do you have a set schedule on Twitch?
Hmm.
That is a struggle for me with moving time zones.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Currently, still kind of figure out my new job and hours. Um, Friday nights, 99% for sure. There's a stream starting around 6 or 7 p.m. Pacific.
Okay.
Okay.
I still try to do one either on a Tuesday or Wednesday morning for the East Coast peeps that supported me all this time. So I'll try to do one around maybe 9 a.m. Pacific.
Okay.
And then depends on the mood. I'll throw one in on a Sunday or like a random day. So the answer is yes and no.
Yeah.
And it also depends if it's plus 35 degrees and the weather is nice and the water is warm. I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna skip a stream and go swimming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we've decided to do the same because we tried to force like weekly episodes out of the podcast.
Yeah,
And eventually you just hit that spot where you're like, maybe this isn't quite as important as, I don't
You
know,
know,
like getting out
we were
and
just
enjoying
locked in
life.
for 2 years, right? Especially
Yeah.
not a two and a half years. It's like go out, go enjoy it, and also being an all original artist.
hmm
Like I have like I even had released a 12-song instrumental album just because we've written so much stuff on stream, and I have about 27 other songs that I had to go through to figure out if I'm going to put those in the next instrumental volume 2.
very cool.
But some days you're like, yeah, I can quickly hop on for an hour and play the songs I have if anybody cares, and then like I'm not feeling it though, and then you can tell, people can tell, and like I can tell if I'm not
Yeah.
having a good time, they're not having a good time.
Yeah.
So sometimes like I said, I try to stick to those 2 days, one for sure. But sometimes if I get up and I'm like, oh, what is this? Okay. And that's kind of happened with a few songs. I was like, I'm gonna record it now so I don't forget it. I'm gonna go and stream and see what happens.
Hmm.
And those are even just more beneficial.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Going
that's,
when you are inspired, as opposed to
Just, yeah.
because of some set.
As opposed to going to work. I mean, it's all work, but as opposed to going to work and like, yep,
yeah, I mean, it's
uh,
all work, but as long as it doesn't feel
exactly.
like work, that's the important part.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, Now we don't want to keep it too long.
No,
Um, this
we have
is
loved having you though.
yeah, this has been amazing, and we'd love to have you on again anytime you have some
This
new
is
stuff. If you want
awesome.
to
And
just talk for no apparent reason, just because this is what we like doing. So two things before we close down. One, before we hit the record button, there may have been a mention of possibly a small little showcase of your talents. Um, Before we do that, three, because we are a pop culture podcast,
yeah,
and We do like to test people's enjoyment of pop culture.
Because
So
people
3
do
quick trivia questions that we do whenever we interview somebody, just for the fun of it. Um, let's see, what do I got? Okay, so the new Mario movie has just arrived in theaters like this weekend that just went by. Who were the 2 original actors who portrayed Mario and Luigi in like the 1992 Mario
don't.
movie?
You can't ask
No,
him that. I don't even know that.
1992. There was a Mario movie.
I could be wrong on the date, but there was
I
an old
was like,
Mario movie.
Well, I think it was 93, but still, yeah, right around then.
so in '93. I don't think I've probably ever. I don't think I've
No, that's
even
me.
touched a Nintendo yet.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
So I don't know.
Okay,
That's
Um,
fine.
there.
This is less trivia and more now just letting everybody who's listening
would
know
it
these
would it
fun little facts.
would it maybe be like a Danny DeVito as one of them?
Huh?
You're close.
Oh,
It can't be Joe Pesci.
No, it was Bob Hoskins
Okay.
not
played
far.
Mario,
Not far.
and John Leguizamo played
Oh,
Luigi.
Jesus.
Okay. All right.
That's where we went back to with that one.
Okay.
Um, I
They're
don't
like,
remember the exact year, but at one point in time, Kiss, who was all in for the money and loves their money and their merch, put out a specific item for sale, which the slogan to was "Everybody is dying to get their hands on it." What was the item?
From Kiss?
Yep.
Kiss.
He's asking questions that I don't know, so it's okay that you don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm
If you
trying to like
know.
not a band that I followed or really,
Mm.
I was
you know.
trying to throw something musicy in there
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because we were talking about it,
But
and I didn't know this either.
they
I
sell
stole
a
this.
lot of stuff. Like
I stole this from another quiz show that I watch.
would it be a fake Gene Simmons tongue?
No, it was actually the slogan. People are dying to get their hands onto it. Is because it was the Kiss coffin.
Oh,
Okay.
an
You could
actual
buy
coffin?
yourself an actual coffin and get buried in a Kiss emblazoned coffin. And they
Nice.
were actually spelled with the K. It was Kiss
Yeah.
coffin with a K.
Coffin. Well, if it's cheaper than an actual coffin, that's not a bad idea.
Mm.
Yeah. And one more on the music thing. What do I give you? Um, you may not know. What were the 4 drinks that Chumbawamba wanted you to take in tub thumping?
No, I don't know about you, Tyler, but I was listening to real music, not Chumbawamba.
Oh, hey,
You know,
I
coming.
listened to Sandmouth.
I was gonna say, coming from a Sandmouth listener, I'm surprised you give me Chumbawamba.
Okay, fine. By the way,
Well,
it was a whiskey drink, a vodka drink, a cider drink, and a lager drink. But seeing
that's a
as
good hangover ending on that cider.
yes, ending on the cider.
Goodness.
Anyway, those were the trivia
Well, see
questions that we
now I know. Now I know.
and now you'll never
Now,
forget.
now I'm gonna go ask people later when I'm out for pints, and they will know. I'll be like, "Well, I'm fucking smarter." So
Yeah. Yeah, just walk
Perfect.
up and when the server comes, be like, I'll have the tub thumping.
I'll have the Chumbawamba special.
I'll have the Chumbawamba special. I'll be like, what?
Start anywhere you want.
That's awesome.
That's
Okay.
perfect.
Well, that's that. Now, you can or you don't have to give our listeners a taste of what they might get if they decide to follow you on Twitch.
Okay. You'll get a bunch of overlays. First of all,
That
later
sounds
tonight.
lovely.
I'm gonna play you guys. It's a demo. It's a pretty well finished demo. It will be hopefully released in May. I'm waiting for a few people to participate. So there could be up to 3 other streamers, a drummer. So this is the drums that you hear is I programmed the drums and I kind of tweaked it the way I wanted to. The piano on this is actually, I was writing. So this was written all live on stream in about, I think, stream and a half.
Nice.
Sorry, it was written in one stream, recorded between 2. And the second day I was doing it, one of my community members, one of my friends, he's in Toronto, and he was just like, "Hey, man, I'm loving this. I'm just like sitting at home playing piano and like just looping like a 4-bar thing." I was like, "Well, send it to me." So he started sending me his kind of auditions, and I was like, "These piano parts just live the song even more." I was like, "Okay, well, now you're going to be in the song, so send me some piano parts." So with the power of the internet, as I'm recording it live here, he's at home playing along to what he's hearing coming off Twitch, and just giving me 4-bar snippets, and we kind of put that in. And potentially 2 people in backup vocals. I'm not going to mention names till I fully confirm that, but it'd be pretty huge. And that's it. So this came out kind of as a one fellow streamer is she's originally from Toronto. She moved to LA, and then I was like, oh, I think she's moving somewhere, and someone's like, oh, she's going to Atlanta. I was like, oh, she's going to Georgia, and you're talking to people, and then you just start doodling, and you're still talking, and you just kind of. I'm headed down the Georgia. I was like, okay, that's kind of gives me those JJ Cale kind of vibes, kind of, relaxed bluesy stuff. So I was like, okay, let's record this. So I'm more than happy to play you guys a new single.
Thank you.
Not officially not released. It's only on YouTube, I think. With the brand new pickups in his guitar that my community helped me acquire. 1959 Fender custom, which I'm very excited about. Go figure, the temperature change, guitar slightly out of tune.
Of course.
And I'm actually gonna, because I'm still finding head cold, I'm gonna turn up my my recorded vocals a little bit louder. That's so fair. I will be singing along. I will be singing along, not lip syncing. So don't go Britney Spears on me.
We would never.
SNL. Wait, was that Britney Spears on SNL? Was it? Anyway,
there's been so many. Like Taylor Swift has been called out for lip syncing. Britney Spears.
It was Jessica Simpson's sister.
Yeah, Ashley Simpson, right? That was the big one that started it all.
Yeah, but nobody remembered Milli Vanilli? Come on.
Yeah, really.
So, okay. You know what? Close enough. One time, Neil Young said no tuning right before the songs with Pearl Jam on Mirrorball. So, no tuning. Let's just go rock and roll. Hopefully, you guys can hear everything. If you can't, let me know. I'll stop. And thanks for having me on your 100th episode. That's crazy. I'm not worthy, but,
Well, we feel you are.
Well, thank you. So here's a song by a band you might have heard called Sandmouth. No, I'm joking. All right. Just picture more overlays and lights everywhere. I mean sweatpants. I'm going down to Georgia. I'm leaving Cali behind. I'm headed to Georgia and leaving what's on my mind. So if you see me walking, don't be stopping, asking why. I'm going to Georgia and leaving California behind. Oh, Georgia, I'll be good to you. And goodbye, California. It was never true.
pretty much the song.
Well, thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you guys.
That was amazing. Thank
And
you very much for doing
listeners,
that.
again, this is Luke from LGP Music, and we will definitely be posting all of the links to your socials and your Twitch accounts.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
When we post the episode, for sure. But again, thank you so much for coming on, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the future and checking out what you're doing as you go.
Thank you so much for supporting independent music, small artists. Yeah.
Speaking of, look, I made a shirt.
Yes.
For independent music. We sell it on our Redbubble shop, and all of the proceeds will go to, where were we sending this?
My brain is failing me right now.
The Music Alliance with Williams, Victoria person.
Yep.
Whatever.
Nice.
It's to raise money to raise funds for healthcare for musicians, because of course there is not, for, it's not like you guys have unionized jobs in the same kind of way. So
Nope, we don't.
Okay, so
and in it,
follow Lucas on all of his socials. I'm guessing LJP Music.
LJP Music on Instagram, LJP just across Spotify, Apple, blah 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 blah, and YouTube LJP, Twitch LJP, Bandcamp LJP Music. So anyway, just find one, and then they all link to each other.
Right. Great. And since you're here, you can follow us too on all of our socials, and let us know what you thought of our 100th episode and our new friend Lucas down here. Leave comments, do whatever you do. You know what you do, just do it. So you can, of course, find us at Pop Cult EXP, at Pulp XP, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna spell that again because I fuck it all up every time I try and do it. But you know where to find us. Find us here. Find him there. Check him out. His Twitch stream is amazing. Great original music. And I used to know him.
Dude looks familiar. This is going to be weird.
All right. Everybody have an awesome week. Thank you again, Luke.
Thank you, guys.
And hopefully we're talking to get to you again soon.
Take care. Thank you.